When a biker who rode past a house on Elm Street in Beckley, West Virginia, every night on his way home from the shop, noticed that the upstairs window, the second window from the left, the one that faced the street, had a light on every single night, he didn't think about it for the first month. Lights in windows are normal. Houses have lights. People leave them on. But by the second month, he noticed something. The light was always on. Not sometimes on. Not on when someone was in the room and off when they weren't. Always on. At 9 p.m. when he rode past after a late job. At 11 p.m. when he rode past after a club meeting. At 2 a.m. the one time he rode past after a breakdown on Route 19. Always. The same light. The same window. The same warm yellow glow behind a curtain that was never fully closed. Half closed, the way a curtain is when someone wants the light to be seen from the street. And the rest of the house was dark. Every other window, dark. The downstairs, dark. The porch, dark. The only light in the entire house was the one in that upstairs window. Every night. For 2 months of riding past. The third month, he knocked. A woman answered. She was maybe 76, small, a housecoat and slippers, and the look of a woman who hadn't been expecting anyone at 6:30 p.m. on a Wednesday, because nobody came at 6:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. Nobody came at any time on any day. The knock itself was the event. "I'm sorry to bother you. I ride past your house every night, and I've noticed the light upstairs. The second window. It's on every night. I just wanted to make sure everything's okay." She looked at him. Not startled. Not suspicious. The look of a woman deciding whether to tell the truth or the polite version of the truth. She chose the truth. "The light is for my son. He said he'd visit someday. I leave it on so he knows which room is his." Elm Street was a residential road 2 blocks from Main. Quiet, maple trees, the kind of street where houses had been standing since the 1950s, and the people inside them had been standing almost as long. The house was a 2-story white clapboard with a porch that needed paint and a driveway that had 1 car, a Corolla that was old enough to vote. The house was the house of a woman living on a fixed income, maintaining a structure that was bigger than one person needed because the structure had rooms in it, and the rooms had purposes, and one of the rooms had a purpose that hadn't been fulfilled in 7 years. Dane Kessler was the biker. Same Dane from the lobby and home stories, 40, heavy equipment, treasurer of the Mountain State MC. He lived 4 blocks from Elm Street, and his ride home from the MC shop on Fayette Street took him past the house every night, and the light in the window had become part of his commute, the way a landmark becomes part of a route. You stop seeing it consciously, but it registers, and when it registers long enough, you start wondering why it's there. Stay with me. Because the reason that light has been on every night for 7 years, and what someday means to a mother who took the word literally, is the reason this story had to be told. The woman's name was Irene Witt. She was 76. She'd been a school bus driver for Raleigh County for 24 years, Route 12, the route that ran from South Beckley through the neighborhoods and up to Woodrow Wilson High School. She'd driven the same route for 24 years. She knew every stop, every kid, every parent who waved from the door. She retired in 2014. Her husband Leonard had retired from the coal company the same year. 30 years underground, a pension, a bad back, and the cough that every miner calls nothing until the nothing becomes something. Leonard passed in 2019. Black lung. The nothing that became something. "Tell me about your son." Dale. Dale Witt. He's 48. He lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's a project manager for a construction company. Commercial buildings, the big ones, the ones that take 2 years and have cranes. He's successful. He makes good money. He has a wife, Tammy, and 2 kids, Aiden and Sophie. Aiden is 14. Sophie is 12. I've met Sophie once. I've met Aiden twice. I've met Tammy 4 times. That's the math. 4 visits in 20 years of marriage, 1 wedding, 1 Christmas, 2 summers, 20 years, 4 visits. When was the last time he came? 7 years ago. 2019. Leonard's funeral. He stayed 2 days. He helped with the arrangements, the casket, the flowers, the church. He was efficient. Efficient is the word for what Dale does with family obligations. He processes them. He arrived, he arranged, he attended, he left. 2 days. And on the second day, when he was packing his bag in the spare bedroom, the bedroom with the light, the room that used to be his room when he was a boy, he said, "Mom, I'll come back soon. Someday. I'll visit. I'll bring the kids. They should see the house." He said someday. And he left. And someday has been 7 years. If this story is pulling you in, subscribe. We share stories like this every week, and each one finds what nobody else is looking at. 7 years. 7 years of someday. Do you know what someday means to a mother? Someday means the word is a promise, and the promise has no date, and a promise with no date is a door that stays open, and a door that stays open needs a light, so the person who said someday can find it when someday comes. That's the light. The light is the door. The light is the someday. I turn it on every evening at 6 p.m., and I turn it off every morning at 6 a.m. 12 hours. Every night. For 7 years. That's approximately 2,555 nights. Approximately 30,660 hours of electricity. The electric bill for that room, I calculated once, is about $14 a month. $168 a year. $1,176 over 7 years. That's what someday costs. $1, $176 in electricity for a room that nobody sleeps in because the person who said he'd sleep in it hasn't come. Does Dale know about the light? Dale knows nothing about my nights. Dale knows nothing about my mornings. Dale calls on my birthday, March 15th, and on Christmas Day and on Mother's Day. 3 calls a year. Average length, 8 minutes. 24 minutes of my son's voice per year. The same math as Cecil's son Dale from the silverware story. The same name, the same distance, the same 8 minutes, the different cruelty, but the same flavor. My Dale doesn't count silverware. My Dale counts nothing because my Dale doesn't come close enough to count. He counts from Charlotte. He counts by phone. He counts by the gift cards that arrive in December. Amazon, $75, the same card every year, the same amount, the same store. He has never asked about the light, because he has never driven past the house at night, because he has never been here at night in 7 years. What's in the room? The room is ready. It's been ready for 7 years. The bed is made, fresh sheets every month. I change the sheets on the 1st of every month, even though nobody has slept on them. I wash sheets that haven't been used. I dry sheets that haven't been wrinkled. I fold sheets that haven't been unfolded. And I put them on a bed that is waiting for a body that said someday and meant never. The closet has empty hangers, 6 of them, spaced evenly, waiting for clothes that never come. There's a towel on the bed folded like a hotel, because I saw it on television and I thought Dale would like that. The dresser has empty drawers. The room is Hope in the shape of a bedroom. And Hope costs $14 a month in electricity, and the stairs every night, and the thing that Dale doesn't pay is the emotional cost of walking past that door and seeing the light under it, and knowing the light is the only thing alive in the room. Everything Irene had built in that spare bedroom, every sheet change, every towel fold, every empty hanger, was about to reach the person who'd been riding past the light for 3 months and finally understood that a light in a window isn't a light. It's a woman waiting. You climb the stairs every night to turn it on. Every night. 14 steps. My knees are bad. The right one especially. The doctor said avoid stairs. I sleep downstairs now. The couch mostly. But I climb 14 steps at 6 p.m. to turn the light on and 14 steps at 6 a.m. to turn it off. 28 steps a day for 7 years. That's approximately 71,540 steps on bad knees for a light that nobody sees from the inside. You climb stairs on bad knees for a son who doesn't come. I climb stairs on bad knees because someday might be tonight. Someday doesn't have a date. It could be tomorrow. It could be tonight. And if tonight is someday and the light isn't on, Dale won't know which room is his. I know that's not rational. I know Dale would call before driving 6 hours. But knowing and believing are different things. I know he's not coming. I believe he might. And the light is for the believing, not the knowing. That answer, a woman who climbs 14 steps on bad knees every night because knowing and believing are different things, is the reason Dane didn't go home to his own house 4 blocks away. And what he did the next morning changed the stairs. Dane came back the next day. He brought a lamp timer, a $12 device from the hardware store that plugs into the outlet and turns the lamp on at a set time and off at a set time. On at 6 p.m., off at 6 a.m. No stairs, no knees, no 14 steps up and 14 steps down. The timer did the climbing. He installed it in the spare bedroom. Irene watched from the doorway. She didn't enter the room. She hadn't entered the room in months. She turned the light on from the doorway, reaching around the doorframe to the lamp on the nightstand, the reach that saved her from walking into the room and seeing the made bed and the empty hangers and the folded towel that nobody had used. You don't go in the room. I go in on the first, to change the sheets. Other than the first, I don't go in. Going in is standing in the room where my son said someday and looking at the evidence that someday hasn't come. The bed is evidence. The hangers are evidence. The towel is evidence. I can handle the light from the doorway. I can't handle the room from the inside. The timer will do the light. You don't have to climb. But I've been climbing. You've been climbing for 7 years. Your knees have been climbing for 7 years. The timer climbs for you now. The light still turns on. Dale's room is still visible from the street. The someday is still there. The only thing that changes is your knees get a break. Irene looked at the timer, a $12 plastic device that replaced 71,540 steps and 7 years of climbing and the nightly ritual of touching the lamp through a doorframe. The timer was practical. The timer was sensible. The timer was the thing any reasonable person would have bought in year 1. But reasonable and grief don't share a vocabulary. Grief climbs stairs. Reasonable buys a timer. Irene had been grieving for 7 years, and the grieving included the stairs because the stairs were the effort, and the effort was the proof that she was still waiting. And waiting required effort, and effort required knees, and the knees required stairs. The timer removed the effort, and removing the effort felt like removing the waiting. If I don't climb the stairs, am I still waiting? The light is still on. The room is still ready. The sheets are still changed on the first. The waiting doesn't live in your knees. The waiting lives in the room. And the room doesn't care who turned on the lamp. Irene accepted the timer. The first night, she stood at the bottom of the stairs at 5:58 p.m. The habit, the 14-step habit, the 6 p.m. habit, the 7-year habit, pulled her toward the stairs the way gravity pulls water downhill. The body wanted to climb. The knees wanted to climb. The habit wanted the effort. At 6 o'clock, the timer clicked. The light came on. She heard it from downstairs, not the light, the click. The click of a plastic timer doing what her knees had done 2,555 times. She stood at the bottom of the stairs and she didn't climb, and the light was on, and someday was still possible, and her knees were on the ground floor, and the room was ready, and the timer was the new version of the waiting. She cried. Not because the timer was sad, because the timer was a relief, and relief was what broke her. 7 years of climbing had been a weight she didn't know was heavy, because the carrying was so constant it became normal. The timer removed it, and the removal was the first time she felt how heavy it had been. Dane texted the Mountain State MC. Irene Witt, 76, Elm Street. She leaves a light on in the spare bedroom every night because her son said he'd visit someday 7 years ago. She climbs 14 stairs on bad knees every night at 6 p.m. to turn it on and every morning at 6 a.m. to turn it off. 71,540 steps over 7 years for a light her son has never seen from the inside. I installed a timer. The timer does the stairs now, but the room is still ready. Sheets changed monthly, empty hangers, a towel folded like a hotel. She needs the things we give everyone: someone at the door, someone who shows up, someone who makes the house feel like someone's in it besides the light. But she also needs something else. She needs her son to see the light. Nolan. I'll come by Wednesdays. Webb. I'll take the porch. It needs painting. I'll bring combs. Foley. The furnace. 15 years old. I'll check it Saturday. The MC came. Webb and Combs painted the porch. The paint Irene couldn't do herself because painting requires a ladder, and a ladder requires someone to hold it. Nolan came on Wednesdays. Andrea brought food. The kitchen downstairs, Irene's actual living space, had people in it now. The house had 2 modes, the living downstairs and the waiting upstairs. The living finally had company. Dane called Dale. He got the number from Irene. She gave it reluctantly, the reluctance of a mother who doesn't want her son bothered, but whose light has been bothering a biker for 3 months. Dane called Charlotte. Dale answered. Mr. Witt, I'm Dane Kessler, your mother's neighbor in Beckley. There's a light in her upstairs window, your old room, that's been on every night for 7 years. She climbs 14 stairs on bad knees to turn it on at 6 p.m. and off at 6 a.m. She changes the sheets every month on a bed nobody sleeps in. She folds a towel like a hotel. She does this because 7 years ago you said, "Someday. The light is for you. You should see it." Dale was quiet. I didn't know about the light. She didn't tell you because telling you means guilt, and guilt from Charlotte isn't presence in Beckley. But the light has been on 2,555 nights, and someday has an expiration date, and the date is whenever her knees can't climb anymore. Dale came. 3 weeks later. A Friday evening. He drove 6 hours from Charlotte. He didn't call ahead. He pulled into the driveway at 8 p.m. The light was on. The upstairs window. The same warm yellow glow that Dane had seen for 3 months, and Irene had turned on for 7 years. Dale sat in the car and looked at the light, and he understood, not intellectually, not from the phone call, but visually, from the car, at night, looking up at a window that had been burning for him every night for 7 years, what someday had cost his mother. He knocked. Irene opened the door. She saw Dale. She didn't speak. She put her hand over her mouth, the gesture of a woman who has been waiting for a knock for 7 years, and the knock has finally come, and the coming is the thing she stopped believing would happen, even as she climbed the stairs. "I'm here, Mom. The room is ready. I know, I can see the light." Dale stayed the weekend. He slept in the spare bedroom, in the bed with the fresh sheets, on the towel that was folded like a hotel. The hangers held his jacket and his shirt. The room that had been a shrine became a room with a person in it, a room with the light on because someone was inside, not because someone was expected. Sunday morning, Dale changed the sheets before he left. He stripped the bed and washed the sheets and dried them and put them back on. The first time someone besides Irene had touched those sheets in 7 years. He folded the towel. He left a hanger with his jacket on it. His jacket, a Charlotte Construction Company windbreaker. He said, "I'm leaving the jacket, so the hangers aren't all empty." Irene looked at the jacket. 1 hanger with a jacket, 5 empty hangers. But one wasn't empty anymore. One had something on it. The ratio had changed, from 0 out of 6 to 1 out of 6. Not full, but not empty. And not empty is the beginning of someday becoming something with a date. Dale came back 6 weeks later, then 8 weeks after that, then monthly. Not someday. Dates. The word someday retired. It became the 3rd weekend, and the 3rd weekend became a tradition. The light stayed on, even after Dale started coming. The timer clicked at 6 p.m., Dale or no Dale. The light was permanent now, not because she was waiting, but because the light had become part of the house. The window on Elm Street said someone is expected here. Someone is welcome. And now, finally, the room was also used. Dane rode past one night, 9 p.m. The light was on. Same window, same warm yellow glow. But the curtain was different, pulled all the way open instead of half closed. Half closed was the curtain of a woman who wanted the light seen, but didn't want the empty room seen. All the way open was the curtain of a woman who didn't need to hide the room anymore because the room wasn't empty. The room had a jacket on a hanger. The room had a date on a calendar. The room had a son who'd seen the light. If this story stayed with you, if you've ever seen a light in an upstairs window and not wondered who was waiting below it, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Be the one who tells someone about the light their mother leaves on. Thank you for watching this story. If it reminded you that someday is the cruelest word a child can say to a parent, because someday has no date, and no date means every night is a possible night, and every possible night requires a light on, and a bed made, and the stairs climbed, and the knees used, and the waiting continued until someday either comes or the knees give out. Please share it. Subscribe for more stories, proving that sometimes the most powerful thing a biker can do is notice a light in a window and knock on the door below it and ask why. Tell us in the comments, is there a light someone is leaving on for you?